then I started playing for Croydon Borough. This was the home ground. And then I went and played for AFC Wimbledon and come back and played for another team called Victoire, and this was the home ground. So I probably played like, I don't know, 50 plus, 100 plus, I don't even know, games here, and spent about 10 years at least playing most of my career, football playing career, here, basically. But it's changed now, obviously. It's changed a lot. So this wasn't here, that wasn't here, all this stuff wasn't here.
So, growing up in this area, is kind of where my football stemmed from, I'd say. You know, everybody around this area plays football. We'd always be out, everyone would be out playing, enjoying the game, any chance we got, any space we found. I mean, the area that we're in now used to be grass, and then they made this quite a few years ago, quite a few years ago.
There's flats now, there's another 4G that wasn't there before. When I was here, it was just pitches, and I was probably playing here from like 12, 13, up until I was about 18, 19, went to AFC Wimbledon, came back to another club that, like I said, coincidentally happened to be their home ground as well, and then played another 4 years here. So I think this particular club's got like a massive part of my heart, I guess. And I would love to say like do something back here again, but I just think that, you know, that part of my playing career is probably over now. And then Millwall came. So I don't think you ever really like forget where you came from almost. And I think it's good that every time I was here, there was never like you never felt like, oh, it was only just girls here. Like, we used to come and there was boys playing, there was men's playing, there were like little ones. And I know like there's loads of different clubs and academies that like rent this place out now, and we were never made to feel like, oh my gosh, there's girls playing football over there. Or sometimes you used to get not a bit of a crowd, but a bit of a following, like coming here about the like watching the women play, watching the girls play, and it was quite nice actually. It had a bit of a like community feel, I guess, and that's probably something that I would not love to try and replicate or like be a part of again, but I think that it's important that like men and boys get used to seeing girls and women play football. As it never felt weird. Basically, it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, there's girls on that pitch, there's boys on that pitch, there's men on that pitch, there's women on that pitch, and it just felt like it was one. I don't know what it's like in other areas of London or other areas of England almost, but I think it was quite nice that we were never made to feel isolated.
I just remember being a kid, fell in love with the game. Started playing football with my friends, playing football with my brothers, and from there it was just something that I just wanted to be a part of. And you know, I remember rushing home from school, dropping my bags, getting my stuff, and going straight back out to play football. And it was with a lot of obviously boys. There wasn't really any girls around here that played football. So they became good friends of mine. And from there we kind of just came on this pitch, you know, and it used to have a real community feel. We used to have a lot of fun times. There's a lot of good memories in this area. And from this pitch, we used to have so many games where, you know, 13 against 13, 15 against 15. I remember being young and I was quite confident. I used to come out and be like, okay, right, who wants to 1v1 me? Who wants to come and play matches? So from that, it's just been the root of where my football started, really. And it's always been around maybe boys, and maybe that's why I'm a little bit more focused in my coaching and that side of things. But it's always been a part of me, and pitch like this will always be part of my heart. And I think it's great that it's still here and the community gets to use it, and I hope it stays here for a really long time.
I'm here suffering in silence. You're suffering in silence. So I think it was time.
It was time. We came together and
came together. Met up, bounced ideas, vented.
Yeah, venting is a lot.
We've done a lot of venting, not a lot of venting.
It's just good to have someone there that you can talk to about these kind of things that is in the same kind of environment, because I know there's a lot of women out there that's probably in the male game, but it's very hard to find them.
Very hard to find them. Very hard. I don't think. Yeah, you were the only one.
Yeah, I can't say I've got anyone else that's in the male game.
Yeah, no, and I think what was crazy about us meeting was that we didn't know each other from anywhere. No, hardly any mutuals basically. Yeah. But there was like a vibe. It was like, this girl gets
like
me.
Like an instant connection.
Yeah. It was like, she understands what I'm going through, and then it was just like. I think really it just got broken from that personal question I asked you. Like, Lucia, have you ever been through this? Yeah. And then it just went from there.
Yeah, that just kind of took our friendship to the next level, I think.
I think it just makes the journey a lot easier, because when you're surrounded by a lot of people that think that you can't do something, and you've got at least one person that can be like, no, I'm suffering as well, or I'm going through this as well. And
they have the female perspective on it.
Yeah.
You could also go to other male coaches, but
they're not going to get it how you get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, now I want to see what you said when we met.
Yeah, and I want to see what you said when we met.
So we'll go inside and watch it.
Yeah.
That almost leads me to Lucia, because that's how we met. It was on social media. I'm not really one to talk to people that I don't know on social media, but she was a female that I'd noticed, and she was tweeting really similar opinions to mine. And it wasn't even just as a woman, it was just like her general footballing opinions, her tactical knowledge, the stuff she used to say. I used to think, I agree with a lot of stuff that you're saying, and she's a woman. So I followed her, and vice versa. And then I think one of us DM'd each other when we said something, and she said something like, oh, like, you know, I've been looking at your tweets and I think what you're saying is fantastic. Keep up the good work. And I said the same thing to her. And then once I found out she was coaching the men's team, I was like, yes, me and this girl need to be friends, and she's way more qualified than me. So she's already got her B license. She was ahead of her journey, and she's older than me. So I looked at her as like a role model almost, or someone that I could probably ask in terms of her experiences. And there was a few things that I was going through at the time as a female coach, because a lot of hardships that you go through, and things that happen behind closed doors that I think a lot of women are not talking about. So, and I remember asking her something quite personal, like, have you ever experienced this, or have you ever seen this? And then from then, the DMs on Twitter then led to us speaking on WhatsApp, and then we met up, and then now we speak like almost every day. So I've got like a confidant basically of someone that's going through something similar, and yeah, I really appreciate like some of the advice that she's given me and what she's done.
Oh, I appreciate them words that you said, Sian.
It's okay, I'm nice, just sometimes. Little snippets of niceness.
You're showing your soft side. No, but I can definitely relate to what you've said, because it is something that, you know, when I said those things to you about, you know, what you're saying is good and keep it up, I truly did mean that. Like, keep it going.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think it was just like I said, outside, it was just that comfort in knowing there's someone out there that I'm going to be able to discuss this with. And remember, what I was talking about was quite personal.
Yeah.
So it was like a release, basically.
Yeah.
Like the weight off my shoulders. Yeah, there's someone that's going to understand.
Exactly. So because we're going to relate to things that, like we said earlier, that not everybody else is going to get unless.
Yeah. And the thing is that if you remember, you hadn't actually been through it as bad as I had, but you were still saying, like, you still managed to like find a way to kind of guide me almost and say to me, you know, like, this is what I think you should do, or this is a little bit of the experience that I've had, and this is how I handled it.
Yeah.
So it was like at least I still had like someone
Something
that could at least have a taster, even if it wasn't the full experience, but you didn't just say to me like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. I get
I don't know what you're talking about, sorry. Do you know what I mean? And then I feel isolated again. I still felt like, no, she may not have had the exact same situations, but at least you was able to advise on what you think I should do. Do you know what I mean? Given the situation. So yeah, it was like priceless, basically.
I think you remember sending a tweet not long after that, to be fair, once we said like,
you godsend. Yes, you absolute godsend. Trust me, that's something I just like remember. It's a dream.
Twitter is another positive thing that's come from that, is that I've got to meet a lot of coaches, bounce off a lot of coaches, but one that really always stand out for me is that I've made a real friend for life is when I had a contact with Sian. And it's a funny one because it all started with, you know, just being on Twitter, and then all of a sudden, obviously, because we may have people that are in common due to being in the coaching world, I started seeing Sian's tweets, and there was likes then, and I was retweeting because the things that she was saying was really, I could really relate to, and there was some really great information when it comes to coaching and experiences that she's gone through. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, I've kind of felt that too, or you know what, that is a really good point. The way you thought about that in a coaching's perspective, I think like that in a coaching's perspective. So where some of our coaching actually came together, so were some of the points of views that she was talking about, and it went from likes and retweets to talking in DMs and sharing some experiences that we both had, and it would get to that point where it'd be like, oh, so you've experienced that, oh well, I've experienced that, and so how did you deal with that, and so how did you deal with that? And it got to a point that, you know, it built our friendship, and now we're on WhatsApp and we talk pretty much every day, and it's great to have someone like Sian to talk to bounce off of, to have someone that's in the male game with me. And because apart from Sian, I haven't really met anyone else that has experienced that, and we just use this time to not only talk on a friend level, but we always talk on a football level too. And Sian is a very talented, very confident, and a really great coach, and she deserves to push into the men's game because that is something that she wants to do, and she's more than qualified and deservingly should be there. And I wish nothing but her to get as far as she can into the men's game, and I'll be right there supporting her the whole way.
Oh, I need her at my wedding. To say all this nice stuff. No.
You want the coaching stuff at the wedding? Not even though she's nice, but she's a great coach. You married a good one here because she's a great coach.
That's what I need. I need the boost. Do you know what I think? I think while I was watching it like halfway through, I think what was like refreshing, I remember, was I think it was having a conversation about like low blocks or something. It was having a conversation about like defensive principles one time.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, we're not talking like surface level stuff here. Do you know what I mean? Like we was talking like deep, like stuff. Do you know what I mean? About football and really deep diving tactically. Yeah. And you normally have those conversations with men. Do you know what I mean? So it's like to be able to have that conversation with another woman was like, there's someone out there with the same brain as me, basically. Yeah. It's like you realise it exists.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So I think like, yeah, this is sick.
She's gonna have it posted up somewhere.
I don't know what else to say, but like, this is sick. At the time that Mill came along, I was playing for Victoire, the team that played here. I'd been there for 4 seasons, and we was like promotion. Then our manager left, and a lot of the players left with him, so we were on a bit of a decline. We had another management come over, a guy called Donovan, great guy. Like I loved playing for him, such a good coach, like good heart, good guy. But after a while, my winning mentality kicks in, and I want to go back to winning games. So I took the step to leave, and then I went on trial. So I emailed Fulham. I know someone that's playing at Whiteleaf, and somebody basically recommended me over to Millwall. So I went on trial to all 3 places, but Millwall were the ones that were really pushing. Like they were like, here's the papers, sign now, let's go. Because Millwall were one of the first ones that I went to. So So I was with them from like June or something all through pre-season, whereas Fulham and Whiteleaf came later. So because I was with them from the beginning, and the guy Nick at the time that was managing that team, he was really keen on me. So he was kind of there from the beginning all through pre-season until he left that season. But he was the one that was like, let's sign her. So that's how Millwall came about. I was a little bit conflicted at the beginning as a West Ham fan. I probably shouldn't be playing for Millwall, but but it is what it is. So that's how the Millwall stuff came about. And then I never left. So I just stayed. It was tough, I'm not gonna lie. It was really tough at the beginning of Millwall because I was on the bench for like nearly half the season, and I wasn't used to that. I was never used to being on the bench week in, week out, and I would definitely say that that's something that you get a chin. You really like learn how to a level of perseverance when you're on the bench, and you learn how to. That's a test to your mind. That's not about your footballing ability. So I think that if you can persevere through being on the bench week in, week out, you'll probably go on and make it. But yeah, it was really tough in the beginning, but I gritted it out and then eventually managed to secure my starting 11 spot. And then here we are, a season and a half later. But COVID has basically ruined all of that. So I don't even know how much footballing experience or much more football I'm going to get to play before I decide to retire.
So when I was young and I was playing football, there wasn't really that much that was female orientated. If you think about it, it was like mid-90s and things for the girls weren't as noticeable or easy to find. So I tend to find myself playing with boys, going to boys teams, training with boys teams, training with boys clubs, matches, and that was from quite young. I was probably 7, 8 when I was in a boys team playing football, and it kind of just carried on from there. And it was only till I was about 15 when I started playing for the ladies game. So I didn't really have girls football in kind of my football kind of career, so to speak. I wouldn't really call it a career because it ended at about 18 because I tore my ACL. But when I was about 15, I was playing in the ladies game with grown women. I think playing with the boys probably made me quite tough and ready to play with the game against the ladies. You wouldn't really notice the difference between me playing and them playing. And it was with Hendon ladies, with Tottenham ladies, so I had the experience there, and I think that was a big part of me for a long time until I had my injury. I had a little bit of a break from football, and it was only when I came back from studying in university I thought, you know what, no, I need to get some of my badges, and that's kind of where it then started growing and getting big from there. And that was a good 2010, so a long time ago, where it all kind of started from. I had this conversation with my mum a few years ago, and she was talking to me about obviously being in this area and when we were growing up. And she said, you had a coach in you from when you were young. You were like 10, 12 years old, getting everybody together and saying, oh, let's go and do some sessions, or let's go and get a match, and you'd be organising it and be collective, gathering everyone up and coming to the pitches or finding some grass and getting everybody involved. And I did that from young. So where I used to think, oh, my coaching side kind of started at 2010, it probably didn't. It started when I was young, and I was involved with everybody, trying to get everybody involved. And I wouldn't even say just matches. Sometimes we'll come up and practice free kicks, practice shots, practice different things. So it actually started from a really young age. And like I said, I only discovered that a good few years ago, that, you know what, that's probably actually where it came from, because I had that conversation with Mum, and that's where it just grew, and I kind of got that.
My first memories, let's say, of playing football was at Croydon Borough. I came as a striker. I think I was in year 7 or year 8, so I was like under 13s. My first managers, Neville and Andy. I would never ever forget them. And I was like, my younger playing careers was probably like like the most fun I've ever had. It was just week in, week out, scoring goals. You didn't care about the mud, you didn't care about the rain. All the girls I was playing with were great. I still speak to nearly all of them now, actually, funnily enough. There's so many girls there that I've kept in touch with. And I think that's like your golden age. It's like I'm scoring goals, 20, 25 a season. It was so fun. And I think from a very young age, that's when I found my switching off time. It was the time that I'm not thinking about school, I'm not thinking about friends, I'm not thinking about boys, I'm not thinking about anything, basically. All I'm thinking about is football, and that was it. And it was something that I was good at, I loved it. But I don't think I ever saw it as a career. I never saw it as something that I wanted to go and do for the rest of my life. I wanted to go into like law or like other stuff. And maybe that's just because of how women's football was portrayed back then. I never watched it on TV, like ever. Well, it was never on. So yeah, it was never something that I wanted to do. It was just so much fun and I loved every minute of it. And I had massive support from my dad as well. Like, he was at every single game, no matter what the weather conditions was, like rain, snow, mud, whatever it was, freezing cold, he'd be there. And we were winning leagues. It was indescribable time. It was so fun. Anyone that was there would know. And I think after that, when I went to AFC Wimbledon, that was the first time I ever had to take anything seriously. That's when I had to like diet and be at training 2 times a week, and training was like 2.5 hours long rather than just an hour at a school somewhere. Now I had to start taking it seriously, and maybe I got a little bit scared almost, or like it was like, oh, this is a bit serious. I'm gonna have to really start taking this seriously now. And you know, you have that age where you're like 18, 19, it's the first time you go clubbing, you go raving, you want to do other stuff as a young teenager. Maybe it wasn't a good time for me to start taking my football seriously because I felt like I hadn't lived enough, but maybe I didn't want it that bad, I don't know. But yeah, but anyway, spent 2 years at AFC Wimbledon and had a good time there as well. Got player for the first season. Second season I didn't enjoy so much, so I took some time away. But anyone that plays football would know, you start to miss it. So that's when I found back the Club Victoire, where I was playing here. And that was great as well. That was the first time I'd won a double. We'd won the league, we'd won the cup. In one season, we beat Palace in a cup final. And then we got another promotion the season after, I think. And then obviously we started to decline. But I think probably between the ages of like 12 to say 23, 24. So I probably had a good 10, 12 years of just loving football. I never really got to see the politics side or the issues in camp or issues in management or issues in coaching. I was probably quite shielded away from that. And I'd probably like encourage anyone to just like, while you're enjoying it, keep going, because that's exactly what football's about. You're just supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to love it. You're supposed to be able to switch off and just breathe. So I think that those 10, 12 years is probably the best times I've had in regards to playing football. And I think now at Mill, I think I've got a good balance between having to take it seriously, and the results matter, and there's a lot relying on the results, and the club need to do well, especially because of their club history. But I feel like I'm at the latter end of my playing days now, so I still want to enjoy it, and I still want to be able to go there and switch off. And I think I've managed to find a good balance, and I'll probably end my playing career at Millwall unless, you know, Arsenal come knocking or like something crazy happens, but I doubt it. So yeah, I think I've had a good run, to be honest. Yeah, I think I've had a good run. My coaching career is very, very late in comparison to what I've just described in terms of my playing. So I was never even really vocal like that on the pitch. I found my voice really late. So at Croydon, they wouldn't tell you that I was the talker on the pitch. I was never, you know, that player that lacks the coach. That was never me. I just used to play. That was it. So I didn't really find a love for coaching until way later. So probably like not until 23, 24 maybe. And that's probably down to working careers, because I'd started to get into like supervisor, manager kind of role. So you find your voice now and you find your leadership skills. And then I started to think, oh, do you know what, Sian? You've played for a long time and you could probably start giving back to younger girls and younger players. But I got my first ever time that I'd ever coached was little ones. That was at Swanley Rangers. Like, that was younger boys and girls, actually. It was mixed. But my first role, let's say, as an assistant coach was an under-14s boys team. So I kind of fell in love with coaching youth in general, but I really liked coaching boys. I then moved up to an under-16s team, so I kind of followed my players into their older age group, and once again it was boys. So for a good 2 years I'd only coached boys teams, so that was my first taste of coaching. Then I got given a academy role at Pickup Academy, where I was coaching 16 to 19-year-old girls. Then I realised the difference between coaching girls and coaching boys. It's not different in terms of tactical stuff. It's not different in terms of technical stuff, but the needs of young females and the needs of young males are different. So even that was a big learning curve for me. And then, you know, I'd done 2 years there, and then I'd been given opportunities to coach men. So the first time I'd coached men was at a university team. I think it was a university called SOAS. I think it was SOAS. I don't know. My memory's poor, but anyway, fantastic session. And I walked in, put the session on. The men were so like receptive of everything that I was saying. And I just felt so comfortable in that environment. And then I don't know, I always kind of gravitated to coaching boys, coaching men. And then when my best friend got given the Toot and Beck role, and he brought me with me, it was, I don't know, the feeling of coaching girls, I do enjoy it because I enjoy coaching in general, but I prefer mentoring girls, whereas coaching men, maybe it's the little competitiveness inside me that likes the fact that I'm accepted in this environment, because that's the one that's difficult to get into. I think as a woman, it's easy for you to get pushed into girls' football or women's football, because that's where the footballing world feels like you're needed over there. Whereas actually, I think having a little feminine touch or having a women's touch in the men's world is priceless, and it's not something that you get all the time. So I think that I can go to women's football, but I think if I'm really going to push myself, I can go into men's. And I think at women's, I think I'd be selling myself short. So whereas I think I can go into the men's game and make a difference that potentially hasn't been made. I know there's a coach at Peckham Town that's doing like fantastic, and like full ratings to her. If she goes on and takes Peckham Town to another level, then I would absolutely like applaud that, because I think she's potentially paved the way for someone like me as well. So I think that's fantastic. And that's something that I would like to do as well. And the feeling that you get when an ignorant man basically is taking in what you're saying, or has only ever been coached by a man, and they're taking in what you're saying, is priceless. You couldn't give me a salary for that. So I think it's a massive challenge. I don't like to live in a box. I think going into men's football would allow me to stay outside of that box. And I don't know, I just love it. I think that, you know, coaching in general doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like you're not counting your hourly rate. You're not thinking, well, you know what, I've done 2 hours of work now, I've earned my money, so I'm going home. And it's an art. You have to plan sessions. You have to really deep dive into players' needs. And I think there's a good contrast when you're a female coach and you're coaching a man. I mean, you know, one day I would love to be like a defence. I think I've said this a few times now. Maybe I'm secretly hinting for a job, but I would love to be like a defence specialist in a men's first team, or to be coaching an under 18s boys team. And I think for young boys to see a female and just look at her as a coach and not look at her as a female coach. So the day that a boy goes home and doesn't say, "Oh, mum, you know my coach is a female," I think if that boy can go home and just say like, "Oh, yeah, mum, my coach's name's Sian," and that's it, and it doesn't feel weird anymore, I think then we've made some kind of progress, or we've put our foot in the door, and what we're doing is starting to work. And I just think that there shouldn't be any more male and female coaches. I just think you're a coach, you're qualified, you've got this experience, and you should be able to just walk in as a coach. And that social media can be one of the best things ever, and it can also be one of the worst. I think that something like this, like a documentary like what we're doing, podcasts, interviews, that stuff comes from social media. I mean, I've just recently been offered like a new role in a children's home to work with the youth there. That came from podcasts. So I think that the social media side of things can be so good for business. It can be so good for promotion and building a profile and letting your voice be out there. But at the same time, some of the videos from those podcasts have been posted on like bigger footballing pages, and some of the comments are horrible. And I try not to spend too much time going through them because you'll actually just get yourself into like a horrible place that you don't want to be in. But some of the comments are like, she's black and still playing for Millwall. Why that makes a difference, I don't know. But because Millwall have got such a bad history of racism, basically, it's like, as an ethnic minority, should I not be allowed to play there then? Or people are just blatantly saying like, get out of our game, basically. Like, it's a men's game, stay away. Why do we need to mix everything? There's other people just like blatantly saying like, she's talking rubbish. Basically, like, what does she know? She's talking rubbish. And the thing is that 90% of the comments are positive, but you're always going to get those 10%. And I think sometimes you can get so wrapped up in the positive stuff that you forget there's negative stuff out there. So that when it comes to you now, it's like a shock. It's like, oh my gosh, people actually think this of you. Or and then you can become quite conscious of what you say, and then all of a sudden, all of the stuff you say becomes filtered, and you're scared now to say certain things. And should I say that? Should I say that? Because how is it going to come across? And I think that your support network at that time is imperative. Basically, I think when I see stuff like that, I'll call my mum or mum, this is what's going on. Or like, I've got really good like friends and coaches that are better than me, smarter than me around me, and they're the ones that will say to me, Sian, it's 10%. Do you know what I mean? Focus on the 90%, because at the end of the day, you can't please everyone, and not everyone's going to agree with you. And if everyone did agree with me, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here saying all the stuff that I'm saying. I wouldn't need a voice, because, you know, life would just be rosy and everything would be great, and I would have the job that I need. So, and I am a big believer that nothing in life worth having comes easy. So I think you do have to fight a little bit. And there are going to be old dinosaurs, and there are going to be people that don't think that we deserve a place. And I know I tweeted the other day about, they're always talking about Alex Scott, and she doesn't know what she's doing, and how can she speak because she's never had that kind of experience, never played in front of how many fans, and all the pressure that the men get. But like I said, neither does Harry from Kent, but he's still got an opinion. So who's to say that you can't have an opinion at the end of the day? And this is just mine. This is my opinion. This is how I feel. This is my journey. I can only speak about what I've experienced. And don't get me wrong, it can be hard. There's definitely been times, comments, social media, just general comments from other men or other people, women, opposition, players, coaches, managers, that make you feel like you want to quit. Basically, I've definitely had those moments where I think like, maybe I should just go back to the bank. Maybe I should go back to work in a retail job, or I should do something else, because, you know, you feel like maybe this isn't for me, this is too hard, and you feel like you want to quit. And I've definitely had those moments where I've like shut myself in my room for like 3 days, turned my phone off, sitting in blacked out curtains, don't want to speak to anyone. And you do need people to come and drag you out of that and be like, no, Sian, you can still do it. And I think that I'll always be grateful for those people, and I think that that's what's important. I don't think that you should shut yourself off when you're going to get negative comments, because it's going to happen. I think those are the times that you allow yourself to be vulnerable, and you lean on the people that are willing to be there for you. I don't think it's a good idea to push people away, because this journey as a woman feels isolated anyway. So not allowing yourself to be supported, it's just going to isolate you even more. So I think you have to swallow your pride a little bit, and then just allow yourself to lean on the people that are around you.
I've always had a soft spot for this place. This clubhouse, this area, is a place where my football really started to evolve. We were playing with the boys' teams in Princess Park and Pinnacle, training here, and that's why it's a place that's really memorable to me. With this place, it's a real shame that you can see it in a bit of a disarray that it is right now, because I would love to be able to restore this clubhouse and get that environment of family feel, community feel that you used to have. You saw youth teams playing here, senior teams playing here, and just have that community feel really come back would be something great, and it would be something I'd really like to be involved in, into really refurbishing it and bringing it back. My family used to come here, see me playing games, and it's been a big part of my career and where it started, because when I used to play with the boys, I never used to see them as playing with the boys, I just saw them as players. And we just used to have a real family feel about it, and training with them just felt like being part of the team, and I was always part of the team. It just felt normal to me. In my thoughts of helping replan this place, it'd be great to, get the clubhouse back and running, get clubs back here, youth teams, boys, girls, senior teams, just get a real community environment back into this area, and use this clubhouse that had so much memories for a lot of people to just bring it back, so their memories can be relived and we can create new memories. I've tried to find ways to get in contact with the people involved, with the council that's involved with this. It's a bit more difficult, and it would be great to try and get in contact and get some more information to try and find ways to try and restore this area and this place. This memory I have of this place is when I was about 7 or 8, and just coming to train. There was so many different age teams going on. As I said, it was really hard to find female teams and girls teams, so it was just loads of boys teams, all age groups running here, and I would just come in and be buzzing and be so ready to get involved and just show my ability and show that football was really part of me. And then from that, I didn't really get into the ladies until I didn't really get into the ladies teams and ladies football until I was about 15, and that's when I started actually playing against women in Hendon, Tottenham ladies, and where my football really started to excel a bit more. And I was really thriving off that environment, and it's unfortunate, obviously, by the time I was about 18, my football stopped. Could I have gone further? Probably. Everything happens for a reason, and I believe that I was here more to coach than I was to play. So I'm happy with the way things have turned out in the end, because it's given me all my coaching experiences that I could ask for. My family have always been a big part of my football as well. Where I might have not had the greatest childhood, I've always had great memories of football. Football was my happy place. It was my place where I could switch off and just forget about anything. And I have the greatest mum I could ask for. And her strength is resonated in me, and I can always, feel that from her. And I've always had support from my family. I've always had support from my mum, from my brothers, and they've always given me that encouragement, whether it be in life, whether it be me as a player when I'm playing, or whether it be as a coach now. After I tore my ACL and got myself injured, I took time out from football, concentrated on studies. I came back from university with a sports therapy degree, and I was doing some sports therapy stuff for football, but I could feel like something was missing, and it felt like I wanted to be more involved in the pitch and not be pushed to something that I'm supposed to be doing and do something that I want to be doing. So I wanted to be more involved in the football side of things, where it be technically, tactically, and that's where I thought, I need to go and do my level 1 and get a foundation and see a feel for it and see if it's something I really want to do. And after doing it, I knew straight away that it was something I definitely wanted to be part of. And where I did my level 1 at the end of 2010, over 4 weekends, I think it was. Now I actually was starting January 2011 and actually getting a coaching role with Arsenal in the community, being in schools, being on estates in the local area, and just really helping the youth, support them through a coaching role, through football. And I thrived off that, and I felt like part of me that I felt was missing wasn't missing anymore. And I haven't ever gave that up. I've always still been part of the community and on estates, helping with the youth. And I think it's something I'll do in the long haul, over a long period of time, for the rest of the time I'm coaching. From that, I realised more and more as my experience went on, I got bigger job roles in coaching, more responsibility in coaching, and I decided this is something I want to have much more focus on. So by the time it was 2016, I actually then started to do my level 2. And for my level 2, I then started to get more coaching roles, and that was working with Arsenal in the football development side of things, and also working for Barnet Football Club in the High Foundation, and started working abroad for coaching and all over the UK, not just in certain areas. And it started to expand much greater, to the point that I was then also becoming an FA mentor and working with mentoring and supporting coaches in the grassroots environment. So my experience started to build up. I worked with different ages, different abilities, from the age of 5 all the way up to the age of 16 years old. So I had covered a lot of area by the time it got to about 2017. And at this point I was like, you know what, I need to try and get into some more senior role of coaching. And I started training and doing some training sessions for the men's team that my brother was playing at. And from there I was like, this is great. Let's start showing women more in this environment, because what I tended to see since I did my level 2 is that those barriers were there, and they were much more visible once I started going and expanding my coaching to all over the UK and abroad, and different environments, and different coaching roles. That's where it did actually start to expand, and I could start to see more barriers, and trying to break those barriers and let people see that women can be in this environment, and not let it be so much of a surprise, and it to be more of a natural thing. So in 2017-18, the club let me take on one of the teams at Old Albanians, and I was there for 2 seasons, and again just continue trying to break those barriers and those assumptions people get when it's coming into women in the male game, and not assuming the first thing they see when they see you is that you are the physio, or that you're not actually the coach there. And that is something that I am keeping on striving to do. And I loved those 2 seasons that I was with the club, and the club were great, the players were great, and we were in the title running for the league until, obviously, unfortunately, COVID came and voided our season. But I also did my UEFA B in 2018. That's when I started it, and I was with that club while I was doing it, and it just brought even more depth and detail into my coaching, which I brought into our season, which probably gave us that chance to actually be in the title running, and we could have possibly won the league. So where all my experiences, they do have challenging moments, I wouldn't change them, because I think sometimes the greatest things come from stepping out of your comfort zone. And once you do that and you try and keep breaking those barriers, there'll be less assumptions, there'll be more open-minded, and it's something that, you know, needs to change, that you just see me as a coach. When I'm on that grass, when I'm on that pitch, just see me for me as a coach. Don't see me as a female coach, or assume that I'm not a coach first. I'd say one of the hardest situations that I've possibly been in, coaching experience to date, is not being acknowledged, because the assumption is that I'm a female, so, or can she really be a coach, or is she a good coach? And I've had moments where I could be abroad, or in an environment where they assume that I'm not the coach first, and I will be given some information, some input, and it gets bypassed, and then a question about the thing that I spoke about gets asked to the person next to me. And I think sometimes egos can get involved in this environment when they don't need to be. I think we're all in the same football environment, we all want the same things. When it comes to the technical and tactical stuff, all the coaching stuff there is the same. So it's bringing your experiences and bringing your knowledge as a coach, regardless of gender, into your environment, and helping that environment develop to the best it can. I've been on the sideline, and when I was with my first men's team running the Saturday team, I'd be the only one on the sideline. It's just me there. And the first things come out is they talk about the physio room to me. And I'm like, that shouldn't be your first point of call. Of course, ask questions, but assuming is the points that we need to start removing from the game, and asking, oh, do you know who's in charge of the club here? And if I'm the only one standing on the sideline, you know, the first thing you should ask is, you know, maybe, oh, are you the coach, or things like that, rather than assuming I'm not anything to do with the team, or I'm there to support, or I'm just a physio. So I think where questions are more than natural to appear, I think just the way that the assumptions are should be removed. And obviously there's been pivotal times where, you know, it's never the players. And I can say that cold-heartedly, it's not the players that ever really have them kind of assumptions, and they are really good at just getting on with it and seeing you as a coach. It's more the oppositions that you kind of get it from, or you could be walking onto the pitch and you won't be the first point of call to shake hands with them, for example, because they're not seeing you as the coach on the pitch, or what you're on the pitch for. So I think, yeah, breaking those barriers is really important for me, and it's, even if it's not for me, it's for future coaches that will be wanting to get into the game, and them being seen for just who they are, which is a coach. One of the most memorable moments that I have regarding some barriers that needed to be broken in the game is I was abroad in Switzerland, I think it was, and I was there in part of a head coach role, getting some of the environment of, you know, how we're going to set up this program that we've got going. We had a meeting, had discussions about how the program was going to run and the organisation for the week. And I was being really engaged and informative, and where some of the coaches were great and really taking things on board and starting to bounce off each other and thinking of ideas, there was one or two coaches that just weren't having it. And it got to a point where I was explaining some information and they weren't really engaging at all. And then when they did have questions about things that I just said, they would go and ask the question directly and make it very obviously they were directing it to the colleague next to me, who obviously was a male. And it got to a point where it was like they were trying to ignore me or dismiss the things that I was trying to say, even though I was the one that was saying it, and they had questions about it, yet they were asking the person that was right next to me and wouldn't even make any eye contact or be very disengaging. And it got to the point that even there was some, you know, comments that were coming out as they walk past comments, just like, oh, shouldn't she be in the kitchen, not on the football pitch? And it got to a point that we had to have a confrontation about it. And it wasn't to a point where we were arguing, but I had to set some things straight, because it's not okay to have those kind of remarks and discuss those kind of things. I am here for a reason. I have got experience. I'm here to engage with you. So all I ask is for respect and engaging back. And just said that those comments need to stop now, and they need to be put to bed and not come up again, because it's not okay in this environment. From starting at a lot of youth experience that I've mentioned, to then doing under 7s and under 9s at Drayton Football Club, I then went into the men's game, like I mentioned, with Old Albanians, to where I am now. Lockdown happened and I decided, let me reactivate my Twitter. And I think where social media can have positive and negatives, for me it had a really good positive for me, because going back onto Twitter, I started to engage more into the football network through that, and I actually got in contact with St Margaret's-Bury, and that is the club that I'm with now, and they're in the Essex Senior League. They are a Step 5 club, and the way that came about is I got in contact with the club, got in contact with the manager, and where there's few people in the running for the coaching role there. We had some really good conversations about things that we hope to see for the forthcoming future, and it felt like a place that was good for me to go. And the difference between me now going to St Margaret's-Bury, now I was in an environment where I had a management team, and where I was the coach, we had a manager, assistant manager, another coach, and I was co-coaching, and it was a new experience for me. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I went into a league that I didn't know as well as I did other leagues, being based in London, and I was with a management team that was completely new to me. I didn't know any of the players, I didn't know any of the club, I didn't know any of the management, but we started to build a bond together, to build the team and using our strengths and attributes coming together to the best of our abilities for the club. And it's something that I'm really thankful for getting into, because I've stepped out of my comfort zone, gone into an environment that I don't know, and the main reason I'm there is to build on my coaching and to get the best from the players that I'm working with. And when you go into a new environment, of course you're unsure of what this situation is going to be, but the club has been very welcoming, the players are great, and I'm actually getting to get a bit more of my coaching out there and get into an environment where they don't tend to see many female coaches. Going there in the first session that I had, obviously no one knew me, but all the players really took on board with what I was doing, giving some of my UEFA B style coaching in there, obviously adapting it to your environment, because it's not all going to be the same and you need to pick things that what works for you. And from then, I think the first session always builds a bond with your players and with your club and with your management team, and I think it did do that. And I have great banter with the players now. We have great banter with the management team, and one of my main focuses is for it to make it feel like the norm, and just being seen as a coach, where the female part doesn't really come into it, and just being based on what you're doing as a coach, and keep breaking them barriers. And what I tend to feel like right now is that there's a glass wall in front of female coaches, and they get told to, they should go and do the female game or work with female players, and gets pigeonholed. And I don't feel that they shouldn't have the tendency or need to do that. If you want to go and coach the female game, fantastic, great, because it's starting to really build now, and that's such a great thing. And if you want to coach in the men's game, same thing, you should go ahead and do it. And I don't think there should be restrictions, whether you're male or female, where you're working with female players or male players. There shouldn't be any restrictions, there shouldn't be any barriers. And right now, for female coaches, I do feel like there's that glass wall, and it's whether or not you can break through it, because you can see that goal and that reaching line at the end, but it's whether or not you can get to it. And my focus is that I'm going to continue trying to break those barriers and get myself into environments where you may not see many female coaches, so it does become more familiar. And even if I don't break down the barriers and get to the goal that I want to see at the end, I want to be doing it so any other future coaches, female coaches that do want to do this, or think, that is something I want to go into, don't let anything stop you or get in the way of doing that, and go and push yourself through it. And if I can remove some of the barriers for them, then that's an achievement in itself. Moving forward, my aims for my coaching is that I want to get into a manager role, working ideally with the male game, because I think it is something that needs to continue, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So I'm going to stay in this environment. And if I had a choice, ideally, I would love to be working for the under-18s in a pro team, pro club. But it's more importantly to me is staying in the male game and showing that, these barriers need to be removed. And if you have a goal, that you need to be achieving it based on you as a coach, not on your gender or what assumptions may come around it.
Okay, so I want to know how, because you would have done level 1, level 2, UEFA B. Yeah. On each of those courses, how many females were on them?
So on my level 1, it was just me.
Okay, yeah.
My level 2, it was just me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my level 3, it was me and another girl, so 2 of us.
So max, you've had 2
mm-hmm.
on your courses at any one
2.
time?
Yeah.
And when you was on your UEFA B, you was already at the men's team?
Yes.
So, because I know on my level 2, when they separate you into like, are you a foundation phase? Are you a youth development? Well, you must have been in...
When I did my level 2, I did the old level 2.
Yeah.
So the setup was a little bit different. It didn't. They didn't really separate it like that as much.
Did they ever point it out? Even on your UEFA B?
They pointed it out a little bit, but it wasn't. Yeah, they pointed out a little bit. There was parts, but it wasn't like there wasn't so much segregation. Like if at certain points, let's say they done stuff where you could use the people that are related in the same phase as you to go and talk to and bounce off. Yes, but it didn't happen like you had to go and do it.
Yeah. So when you had those moments, where you relate to your phase, the coaches that are in your phase, basically, did you already find that there wasn't a lot of coaches in that phase alone, and then now you're the only woman in that phase on top of that? Yeah. If that makes sense.
So I get you saying. So basically, the people that were on the beat, a lot of them were under 18s or lower.
Yeah. That's what
you're trying to say. Yeah. But there was one or two, but not really. They were all in the. Yeah. To be fair, thinking about it,
they were all younger age groups.
Yeah.
So I found on my level 2 that, like, let's say there would have been like 4 of us that was in like professional development phase, basically anything over the age of 18 or 16 even.
Yeah.
But then,
so how many females were on yours?
3 or 4, and on my level 1 there was like 2, I think. Or 2, 3 max.
So you've had more than me,
which
is
I've
good.
More than you. Yeah.
And I'm guessing because of the years, because you're on your level 2 now, right? Yeah. So that also plays a factor, because I did my UHB when I was in 2018.
Yeah.
So obviously as the years go on, mine's gone from 1 to 2, so it has gone up.
Yeah.
So it has the progression, but I still think the progression is really minimal.
Yeah, but I think so. The other female, actually, you was on your own. So like, how vocal were you in the courses, or were the other females in the courses?
So obviously the only time that I've had an experience with another female is my B.
Yeah.
So she was quite vocal like me. I wouldn't. She was quite vocal like me. She stood around. She was really good. She was a really good coach, and I just wish there was more of us, really.
Yeah. See, I think I found that, like, I'm the only vocal one. Okay. So the other females are quite, they're really quiet, basically. And so sometimes, like, those kind of quieter coaches are the ones that feel comfortable on female-only courses. Yeah. If that makes sense. So, I
hear what you're saying, but I think it's good that they did that. I think it's good that they did that, and I think it's good, even if they were quiet, they did it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think I was one of the louder people on my course, in all my courses.
Yeah. Same.
There'll be questions coming up and I'll be like, I know the answer to that.
Yeah, same.
But I think...
But I think that feeling's isolated alone, if that makes sense. So you're already a female in a room full of men, and then on top of that, it's like, and you're in a phase that not a lot of people in the course are going to be on already. Do you know what I mean? So now it's like a double whammy, basically, because you're female and you're in a phase that no one else is on.
Exactly. And they're not coaching, they're likely not to be coaching men senior. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, often on courses, I find... I'm there to learn anyway, so I try not to do too much because I'm here to learn. I'm not here to do the most. But at the same time, it's like I find myself often questioning myself in a course, if that makes sense, because I think, okay, wait, do you actually know what you're talking about here? Do you know what I mean? Because you've got no other... Like, if we was on the same course, I might just be like, you should have my right about this one. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And then you might say, yeah, go on, say it. Whereas there's no... I can just about relate to anyone phase-wise. I can't relate to anyone gender-wise. So you kind of feel a little bit stuck.
For my sense, it is a little bit different. I don't think I've thought that much at sense. And I can understand where you're coming from. However, I do think that in that environment is your environment to learn. So regardless if you're not sure of what you're saying, you should feel confident enough to say it, because...
If I'm wrong, I'm going to learn.
You're going to learn, or 2, you're going to give someone a different perspective, or 3, you might cause a discussion which could be healthy and good in that environment. It's not like you're saying it in an environment where you're not sure. That is the place where you're supposed to do it. So that's why I feel where there's females that are quite quiet, maybe if there is some that are quiet in a more male-dominated course, use that time to actually put your thoughts across, because there is no wrong or right answer in that environment. Just like in development, when players are in development stage, they're learning. There's no wrong or right. You pick up, you say what you want to say. If someone wants to challenge you, that's good, because you need to learn that from early. You're going to get challenged.
Yeah, you are. Of course you are. Yeah.
So 100%. You might as well get challenged in an environment where you're supposed to be learning.
Yeah.
So I think one advice I would give to any females on any courses is try and get yourself involved in the mixed courses.
And put yourself in the ugly zone, basically.
And get yourself out of your comfort zone, and do not be afraid to voice your opinion, whether you're not sure if it's right or wrong, or you're not sure if it's something that relates to what you're saying. That's what you're there for. You're there to discuss that as a group. You're there to talk about it. So don't
you think that element of it is kind of taken away on female-only courses?
I do.
A little bit.
I do.
Yeah, because I feel like that. I think like when I've level ones, when I did like I can't even remember why I even did that. It was like a taster day of a level 1, I think, and it was like all women. And everyone is a little bit more vocal because obviously they're around other women and they feel more comfortable. But that environment, in my opinion, is not a true representation of football.
Exactly.
And I think so when you get out there, it's not a women's world.
Exactly, I agree with you. I agree. Even if they decide to go into the female game, it's still not a women's world.
Yeah, it's not a women's world.
So
yeah,
they have a lot of male coaches around them.
This is it.
So where I think CPDs are a good idea for women, female-only CPDs, so they can help them with them kind of environments, and then they can maybe feel more comfortable to have them discussions. Yeah. When it comes to courses, I understand why there's female-only courses.
Yeah, well, I understand
However,
as well.
I think people should have the mixed courses because I think male should be seeing more female in the game.
Yeah, you need to get used to it.
So start that from the courses, and also they just need to get used to that environment because it's going to be the environment that the majority that you're going to be in.
This is it,
CPDs will be great for that because then you can get things off your chest and have those discussions as a female only. But when it comes to the courses, I think courage as much as you can to get onto them mixed courses, because even me just having 2 females on a UA4B course at this point in this era is still not enough.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I mean, I know you've seen 3 now, so I'm hoping when you end up getting into your 3 or 4,
there might be 4
there might
or
be
5.
more when you're in your B. But it definitely needs to be something from now. I think they need to try and encourage more and try not to push too much to that female-only course zone. I mean, if you need to do it, I understand it, but courage.
The thing is that I've spoken to like another woman that I know that like she's all for the all female courses because she just feels more comfortable basically because she feels like men are just horrid. So she just thinks that she'll just prefer to just be around females and she feels less judged basically. Like if she says something wrong, that another woman's not going to be looking at her thinking like, you're stupid, why did you say that? Whereas she thinks in an environment of men, she's going to get more scrutinised, but maybe I've got a like half full, half empty view because I think on courses, I've said stuff, said stuff on courses and then been corrected, which is fine because that's a learning point.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
But the other positive side is that when you get to flex your brain cells in a room full of men and then you get that respect that you never thought that you was ever going to get,
exactly.
I think the feeling's priceless. There's like loads of people on my level 2 that like will come to me for advice or say like, oh Sian, what do you think of this? Or like we've like shared like how we've done our projects and stuff like that, just like as support. And I've had really good feedback from like the male coaches in regards to my project. So it's like
the same. It's like at the start, I feel like at the start of my B course, people were maybe not skeptical of me, but they were like, is she supposed to be here?
Yeah.
And then obviously when you see that I'm quite vocal and I'm not afraid to, voice my opinion and show my side of things. And then on top of that, not to be big-headed, but on top of that, the things that I was saying
you're not talking,
right.
You're not talking rubbish.
Exactly. A lot more people started to engage.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is priceless. And that's why I think more people need to, if you have the confidence to go and be on that mixed course, go and do it. Because
I think so.
You're going to make females way more seen in that male environment. It should be seen as something normal, and it's still, till this day, a female walks onto a coaching course, they'll be like, oh, there's a female here. And it shouldn't be like that. It should just be seen as a normal group of a class. Doesn't matter how many female and how
you're
many
not asking another man.
Exactly.
Oh my God, there's a man here.
Exactly.
You're not thinking that. So, and even as women, we're not thinking that. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've got like I suppose a bit of a relief when you see other women on courses. That like, oh, okay, so you're kind of intrigued. But I purposely try not to like, I don't know if you notice like on your B, where you two of you girls might end up together, if that makes sense. I purposely, I'm not trying to say I don't talk to the women.
No, yeah,
but like I will speak to them, but I purposely try to float basically, rather than all of a sudden all three, four of you. I mean, even you know when you're someone else is delivering and you're a part of the session, let's say in on a coaching course, when someone else is doing what they're doing and you're just a player basically. I mean, even as a female,
you team up.
We have to team up.
Like, go team up with someone else.
And as a female, I think like you already kind of like. I remember when I was first on a level 1. I think I get like this when I'm playing with men anyway, with men that I don't know.
Yeah.
I always think to myself, you get this like, oh, I need to prove myself. I need to prove that I can kick ball, basically. But then once by the time I got to my level 2, I kind of thought to myself, half of these men can't kick ball. Do you know what I mean? They're coaches, they're not players. Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So you kind of find that like, why am I allowing this? Why am I allowing myself to be judged, basically? Exactly. It doesn't matter. We're actually here to coach. So like, if you've got, you might be on a course with someone who is coaching at Arsenal, but it doesn't mean you can play football.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, what you're worried about.
Coaches coach.
Yeah, this is it. So it doesn't, I know like obviously the environment can get competitive when you're around people and whatever, but I don't think that a lot of women realise how beneficial being in a mixed environment will be, not only for you, but for any other woman behind you.
And it doesn't matter which game you're coaching, whether it be female or male coaching environment, coaching football is the same. So therefore, get yourself involved in that area because you're going to have male coaches around you, regardless which side you decide to go down.
Yeah. I think maybe this kind of like leads to like the next point, I suppose, is that like because you know, when you, I don't know, you must find it when people, as a female, they might assume that you coach females, basically. Yeah. Or I know that when jobs get offered to me, it tends to be female-related jobs. Oh, can you coach these girls? Oh, can you come and do a session with the girls? Or it's like you want me to coach girls, basically. So it's like you're forcing me to go into this,
they're trying to
into this world, that I don't necessarily like want to be in. But when you're on courses and you find you're always going to find men that coach girls. Yeah, so like everywhere I've gone, I coach an under-14s girls team or whatever.
I think the reason that comes about though, I can understand why some places that do coach or have female coaches, they want them there because they want the coach to aspire the coaches. The players. Yeah, the players. So they say, oh, there's a female coach. Wow, I could probably get to that one day because I'm a player now. I might eventually want to become a coach. So I understand why they want to see that.
I think it's men shying away from stuff they don't want to talk about though. I think that men want females to coach females because when a 15-year-old girl comes to you and says, oh, it's a time of the month, and men are like, oh, I don't want to hear this. Do you know what I mean? So they'll just shy away basically, and they'll just, oh, can we get a female in to come and talk about this? Do you know what I mean? So I think, or even just dealing with general female issues, I think instead of men wanting to educate themselves on how a female ticks,
they're just trying to get a female in. Yeah, they're just trying to. Yeah, I don't think the pigeonholing thing is something that should be happening. And I've spoke about that several times. We spoke about it, yeah. We've tweeted about it. Yeah. People speak about it. Yeah. You know, we've been in group chats and I've spoken about it. And it's just that I think regardless if you're male or female coach, you should be able to coach whichever direction you want to coach in.
Yeah. And I think it's just because like it's just females in general as football players are obviously deemed to be either easier to coach or they're less talented. So that's what the world, that's how the world sees it. Yeah, the world sees it as in, even as a male coach coaching women's football, for some reason, men seem to think that coach can't be a good coach because you coach
just
girls.
Because she's coached girls.
And I think to myself, okay, but as a coach, full stop, male or female, if you want to coach defending in a low block, you can coach it. Exactly. Whether you're coaching female players or male players, you can coach it. So you shouldn't be deemed as a you can't be a competent coach if you're coaching girls. It's a disrespect. It's a disrespect. Yeah.
It's an unnecessary disrespect because, like you've just mentioned and we've mentioned a few times, that coaching is the same in respect. The tactical, the technical, the things that you may be trying to coach across. Where yes, you will adapt it to the players that you're coaching to, so obviously the different level that they may be at may be different in the way you coach. But you can get poor men. Exactly, it doesn't matter. Exactly. So, but the actual whole foundation of coaching is the same. When it comes to female or male, and I think that's one stigma that needs to be removed from this world, from the socials, from everything. That just if you are coaching females, it has to be a different, that means you must be
you must not be a good coach.
Or must not be a good coach. Yeah. It's not like that. And regardless, I think if you're a female and you want to coach females, go ahead and do that.
It. Yeah.
But if you are a female and you want to coach males, or if you're a male and you want to go coach females, it's not deemed less.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not an exception that a female wants to go and coach a man.
Yeah. I just think it's just because there's pros and cons with both.
Of course.
There's pros and cons of coaching males. There's pros and cons of coaching females.
But then the same, there's pros and cons with coaching kids
to
and
men.
adults. Exactly. It varies. So there's all different environments. But whatever you choose as a coach, there should not be anything behind that, and you should be allowed as long as you're good enough. You should be allowed to coach wherever and whatever environment, and whatever age group that you want.
Yeah, but I just don't like. I think the problem is that we've got such a long time to go. It's like I don't think I would love for things to change overnight, but I genuinely believe that I can't see the stigma changing for at least another 10 years.
Well, to be honest, I still think it'd probably be longer.
It could be longer, yeah.
Because if I go back to where I was playing, which was, let's not go how many years, but a long time ago, right? If we go back to when I was playing, and women got nothing when I was playing. I was playing for, as my age group, I was 15, 16, playing in the women's team. And in that world, I was a professional footballer because of the teams that I was playing for. But I didn't get nothing. Just about now, women are getting a living to live off.
A living wage, yeah.
But it's still not enough. And I get it. The whole media and women's game is not at that level, or the promotion's not at that level for women to be getting racks and racks and racks. However, it does not mean that they should be entitled to at least a bit more of what they're getting.
Yeah. I've always said that.
And therefore, if it's taken a good 20 years just to get to not 20, but 15 years to get to a livable wage for females.
Yeah.
We still got a long way to go.
Still got a long way to go.
A long way to go. And if that's in playing sense, you can only imagine what it's going to be like in coaching sense.
Oh Lord.
So I think there is still a long way to go. But things like this and things that we're doing, and any females that are happy to go out there and, if you want to go coach that, go do it. If you want to go speak about it, go speak about it. That is going to start making a bit more of a dent. Yeah. And what I hope is that people will see this and be like, I can relate to that. I'm a female coach wanting to do this, or I'm a female player and I eventually want to go into that. And
I think the biggest wind up is that the barriers, let's say, are not even players. Remember we spoke about this, that honestly, I don't think I've ever been personally disrespected as a female coach by a player. Never.
Nah, players
player.
aren't it.
It's other coaches, it's other managers, it's just other people basically. It's never the players. No. So you think all this disrespect must be coming from the people that you're like a lot of people say to me, oh, so when you're in a changing room and you're giving a halftime tea talk with the boys, do they invest in what you're saying? Yeah, they do. It's you lot that don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You lot think that when I come into the changing room, players are going to disrespect me. They don't. Coaches do. And it's coaches that should be supporting it. It's coaches that should be like, no, go on, go. But you don't get that. I've never had a player turn around and say nothing mad to me, ever.
And it's weird because you're coaches, and we try to say football life is a family life, because you all connect on the same level of what you're coaching. But you don't when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because when it comes to nitty gritty, how many coaches are really going to be like, yeah, go on, you're a female, you're good enough, go for it.
Yeah.
And it's like when another coach or manager or club sees you from the outside, so they're not your club, that's the place where you get it from the most. It's very shocking because you don't expect that. Yeah. You don't expect that from that, and it's not something that, again, it's something that needs to be removed.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's something that, from now people need to start listening and hearing that if you're a female, do not try and see me as a female coach.
I think
if you walk into a pitch, I'm a coach. And you know what it is as well? The other day when you were speaking about, or how we're speaking about what we've got on our shirt right now, I don't want anyone thinking that it's just happened to you. And
no way.
If you went and spoke to all the female coaches that are around the UK or even international.
They've all been called a physio at some point.
They've all been called a physio once in their coaching career. And that's it. They get the first assumption of that. And that's what we need to change. Is them assumptions of, you know, the physio room's over there, or so nice to meet you. You must be the physio. I must be the physio. Are you right?
Yeah.
There's no must. Like,
what do you mean
I get you
must?
can ask questions. Yeah? Ask questions, but do not assume. And that's
100%.
the difference.
100%.
That's the difference. Imagine you went up to someone and just assumed they were the physio.
Yeah, but what I think is mad about the physio thing, is that it happens at like lower level, because in the pro men's game, most of the physios are men. So it's like they're like, I was watching a documentary. I can't remember who it was now. Was it Tottenham? I don't remember. It might have been, there's All or Nothing documentaries. I was watching one. It might have been Tottenham. I might have lied about that, but whoever it was, they were basically saying they don't have any women in their environment at all, and that's because they feel like the men get distracted, basically. So the physio, the doctors, everybody is male. So they don't have any females in their environment at all, because they feel like the men are here to work, and they don't want them to be distracted by women. Now, personally, I think before you address the fact that men are going to be distracted by women, before you address that issue, you've just decided to just shun women from the club. Do you know what I mean? So instead of you to re-educate the men, basically, and I'm talking like, I feel like there needs to be like some, I wouldn't say like a course, because you can't teach some stuff, but I think like, I know while I was at Sutton,
a discussion or something.
Something. While I've been at Sutton, me and one of the head coaches there, Rick, put together a presentation, because it was the first time in like 6-7 years that the boys side of the academy have had girls in their program. And we were starting to find little issues basically between the boys and the girls. Now, a lot of clubs are starting to create girls programs alongside boys, and those boys programs would have been running for years without any girls coming in. So, and obviously these are young boys. So what we had to do was put on a presentation to talk about how to respect girls being in your environment, down to things like, we asked them questions like, do you think a girl wearing tight-fitted training clothing, is she asking for attention? So we would put those questions out to the boys to see how they would react. Some of the boys would say like, she must be asking for attention. So then obviously we would challenge that and say, okay, so when you come in your tight-fitted Nike Tech tracksuit, getting your muscles out, are you asking for attention as well then? Do you know what I mean? Or furthermore, would you say that if your sister came out in those clothes, would that be the same? Would you have the same energy if it was your sister? Now, have you ever thought about the fact that maybe tight-fitted clothing is just easier to train in? Maybe I don't want to train in a parachute. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I don't want to feel like I'm flying away. So that's why I'm wearing tighter clothes. And don't get me wrong, I think it was really, really, really beneficial for the boys to then understand, okay, this is how we need to move. Now there's girls in the academy, and I think that if that's something that a lot of other academies could put in to their programs from a younger age, then by the time they get to 19, 20, 21, they know how to maneuver themselves around women being around.
And you're not deeming women as distractions.
This is what I'm trying to say. So, but that was just like, we had a few incidents, and then I thought, we need to re-educate some of these boys. So then Rick came on board, and then we collaborated
and I think that's a really good thing to be doing, because if that's how pro clubs feel, then they should be doing something to educate the people around it.
This is
not just completely take out the whole female section completely to try and eliminate it. That's not solving the problem.
No, it's not.
That's
You're
not
putting a plaster
problem.
over it. It's what you've done.
Exactly. So the more they can do that to start encouraging, and like I said, and that's why it's important that females need to get themselves out there, not to prove a point, but just for them to be more seen and seen as something that is natural.
This is it.
That is natural for a woman to walk through that door in a football environment.
And you're not going to think, what's she doing there?
Exactly.
Female coaches' lives matter. I'm Sian.
I'm Lucia.
And that's been the interview.